Hi guys, today I want to show you something I believe is truly unique, a real Italian tax collection notice, what we call a cartella di pagamento, fully translated into English. I took an official Italian payment notice, this one, anonymized it, and then translated it into English myself. Here we go. With the link in the description, you'll get access to both versions, the original Italian document and the English version. Both have the same layout, so you get an immersive experience of the legal and financial terminology used by the Italian tax collection agency. So go ahead and download both files, then come right back. Got them? Great. Let's get started. The first thing you'll see is the name, Agenzia delle Entrate-Riscossione. Now pay close attention. This is not the same as the Agenzia delle Entrate. I mean, Agenzia delle Entrate is the main tax authority. It receives tax returns and calculates what you owe. Agenzia delle Entrate Riscossione, on the other hand, is in charge of collecting the money, especially when you haven't paid. And that includes much more than just taxes. We're talking about unpaid fines, vehicle taxes, registration fees, and even pension contributions. If you compare the two files, as said before, you'll notice they are identical in layout, except that the one is in Italian and the other is translated into English. Just a heads up, this is not an official translation, but it is an incredibly helpful tool to understand how Italy communicates with its taxpayers and what legal terms are used in official documents. The document is 14 pages long, but don't worry, many pages are about privacy information and some are left blank for formatting. Now let's focus on the English version and walk through it step by step. On the front page, you'll find the number of the payment notice, this one. Just above the name of the collector, that is Agenzia delle Entrate Riscossione, and then the name of the administration, which is the public body to whom the debt is actually owed, in this case, a municipality. The amounts you owe are clearly shown here, along with the payment deadline. That's the final date before the collector can start enforcement procedures. There is also a general breakdown of what these amounts refer to. The base amount due, any late payment interest, and the notification fees. In short, this section gives you a summary of what's being collected, why, and by whom. You also find the phone number of the collector, along with the page number, and again, the number of the cartella or payment notice. On the second page, you'll find some preliminary information about how to make the payment. Although, as we'll see later, the actual payment slips are very straightforward. There are also instructions on how to request an installment plan. But don't worry, this is explained again later in the document with actual form included on pages 9 and 10. This section also reminds you of your right to request a suspension of the payment notice if you believe it's illegitimate. However, and is important. In such cases, I strongly recommend that you file a formal appeal to make sure you meet all deadlines and avoid losing your rights due to missed time limits. On page 3, you find some information that the Agenzia delle Entrate-Riscossione is required to provide by law, namely, which authority you should contact, the reasons you can challenge the notice, and the time limits to do so. However, and this is important, I strongly recommend that you speak to a lawyer. For example, this line here, ordinary court, opposition to enforcement, there is no mandatory deadline for exercising this action, is technically correct, but only partially. In fact, when the payment notice is based on traffic fines like this one, the competent authority is not the ordinary court, but the giudice di pace, here translated with justice of the peace. So, yes, it's useful to read what's written in the notice, but keep in mind that certain legal details might not be obvious or fully explained in the text. Then we have the usual privacy notice here, a standard section included in most official documents. But here, at the bottom of page 4, there's a subtle detail. Let's say something only a specialist might catch. It's a statement about the legal nature of the cartella, specifically that it serves as a formal demand for payment. This payment notice serves as a formal request to fulfill the obligation arising from the tax rules. This means that the cartella does not actually create the debt. Instead, it acts as a final warning, giving the taxpayer one last chance to pay an amount that was already owed. If you fail to pay, this notice allows the collector to move forward with enforcement proceedings. So, to be clear, the debt itself doesn't begin with the cartella, it begins with what's called the ruolo or enforcement register. The cartella simply makes the debt executable. When we get to the page 5 and read ruolo issued by or tax roll issued by, we're finally looking at the core of the cartella. That's because the ruolo is the actual enforceable title, the legal basis that gives the public body the right to collect the debt. In civil disputes, an enforceable title is typically a court judgment or a promissory note, but for the public administration, things work differently. The ruolo is formed independently. That means the municipality, the tax agency, or another public body prepares a list of unpaid amounts, and that list becomes the ruolo. Then it is handed over to the Agenzia delle Entrate-Riscossione for collection, and in this section you'll see the entity that issued the ruolo, the date it was made enforceable, almost as if the administration were acting like a judge, and the date it was delivered to the collector for enforcement. So remember, the debt doesn't start with the cartella, it starts with the ruolo. The cartella simply makes it actionable. In this case, the ruolo was issued by a municipality and its local police department, Polizia Municipale. We're given a ruolo number, which in this example I made up and slightly modified for privacy. This ruolo number appears here, 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 and again further down in the page. It combines several payment items, all tied to the traffic fines, verbally issued under the Italian traffic code. You can see one fine listed here, and another one right listed here, both referring to the same license plate and both from the year 2018. We also have the name and the surname of the official in charge of the procedure, along with the name of the municipality they belong to. And right here, we even find the date when the original fine was notified, according to the administration, including the detailed breakdown of each item, the tax codes, and the individual charges. So this page is very important. It helps you verify whether the original fine, the actual enforceable title, was ever notified to you in the past. That's key in understanding whether the cartella is legally valid or not. As we move forward, we find the contact information for the local police department, Polizia Municipale. This is the office that originally issued the fines listed in the ruolo. If you need further clarification or details about the traffic violations, this is the authority to reach out to. The Agenzia delle Entrate-Riscossione only handles the collection, but the underlying fines and their validity are the responsibility of the issuing body, in this case, the municipality's police office. And here we are. This is the payment slip, the official Pago Pa 4. As with the rest of the document, I modified it for privacy. And you see that the form can be used to pay through a bank or through Poste Italiane. Here. In most cases, it can also be paid at authorized tabaccai, which are quite common in Italy. This particular slip is not for an installment plan, it's for the full amount due. In fact, further down, page 9, we find the option to request an installment plan. These profiled forms are still regularly attached to payment notices, but to be honest, they are a bit of a leftover from the past. Nowadays, to apply for an installment plan, you need to log in with your SPID SPID credentials on the website of the Agenzia delle Entrate-Riscossione. Once logged in, you can select which cartella you want to pay in installments and complete the entire process online. So yes, this paper form is mostly a reminder on how things used to work, but it's still helpful to have everything clearly laid out in one place. And that's pretty much the end of the cartella. As usual, we have another privacy notice. This time is linked to the installment plan request, not just the delivery of the payment notice itself. Then we scroll down through the last few pages, which are mostly blank for printing and formatting reasons. And finally, we add the section for notification details, along with the name and address of the recipient. That said, nowadays, the vast majority of the cartella are notified digitally through certified email pack with the full document attached. All right, folks, we now worked through an entire Italian tax collection notice, fully translated into English. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. See you next time.